While on a backpacking trip in the Maze District of Canyonlands National Park, a couple finds a mysterious stone carved with weathered, spiral markings. The moment it's touched, the air changes, still and tense, like a warning held just beneath the surface. As the days pass, the trail ahead feels less like a path and more like a threshold. And when they decide to change course at the last second, they can't explain why. But later, they'll find out they walked away just in time. This is Odd National Park, where the natural meets the supernatural. If you enjoy outdoor paranormal stories like the one in this episode, let us know. Follow Odd National Park and visit the support page on our site to help us keep exploring the weird side of the wild. Thank you. Tonight's story comes from Hannah, an artist and backpacker who joined her boyfriend Chris on a remote hiking trip through the Maze District of Canyonlands. They weren't chasing anything unusual, just the quiet that comes with getting off the grid. But in one of the most remote corners of the park, they found something waiting beneath the surface. Something that just might have saved their lives. Canyonlands is a place carved by water and time, etched into mesas, buttes, fins, and spires by the Green and Colorado rivers. It's divided into 4 districts: the Maze, the Needles, and Island in the Sky, bordered by the rivers themselves. The Maze District is the least accessible and most unforgiving part of the park, reachable only by challenging 4-wheel drive roads or multi-day backpacking routes. Trails are poorly marked, navigation is difficult, and few visitors dare enter. Most trips there last at least 3 days. Some stretch into weeks. It's easy to get turned around, easy to feel small, easy to miss what's hidden just beneath your boots. And sometimes the desert doesn't just hold on to its stories. Sometimes it hands one back. Here's Hannah's. Hi, James. I'm not the kind of person who usually tells stories like this. It's not because I don't believe in strange things. It's more like because when something is strange, I think it's better left unexplained. Still, after hearing some of the other stories you've shared on your show, I thought maybe this one belonged with them. I took a backcountry trip through the Maze District of Canyonlands with my boyfriend Chris early last fall. It was his idea. He's big on navigation challenges and remote hiking loops. I was looking forward to some quiet time. I love to paint and planned on spending a few afternoons sketching sandstone curves to bring home for some inspiration. On our second day, we stopped at a bend to refill water. The creek was barely moving, just a few stubborn pools shimmering between rocks. While I was setting up the filter, Chris knelt beside the creek and pulled something from the silt. It was a flat, oval-shaped stone, smooth like it had been polished by years of flow, but with odd grooves etched into one side. Concentric curves, like ripples, or maybe eyes. They almost looked hand-carved, but weathered and old. Chris joked that it looked like a drink coaster from a sci-fi movie set. I remember laughing, but then he handed it to me and something shifted. The air around us felt thinner, quieter, like the stone had interrupted something we didn't realize was happening until it stopped. It was subtle, but I felt it in my chest. The stone felt tense, like it had a vibration just under the surface, almost humming in my fingers. It was like pressing your hand on the back of a stretched canvas. You can feel the tension even when nothing moves. I told him to keep it. At the time, it felt like a small decision. Later, it wouldn't. That night, I woke up to a faint dripping sound. At first, I thought it was condensation from the tent, but the sky had been clear for days. I sat up and unzipped the tent. The ground was dry. No rain, no dew. But the sound kept going for a few seconds longer, like something dripping. But there was no water. When I crawled back in, Chris was still asleep, but I noticed his boots were soaked. They'd been zipped inside the tent, nowhere near water, and yet they were sopping wet. I asked him about it the next morning, but he just shrugged. He thought they were still wet from yesterday when he picked up the stone from the river. Except they weren't wet yesterday, not soaking wet. And when we got out of the tent, we saw something we couldn't explain. The dry wash, empty the night before, was darkened with damp streaks, not puddles, just thin, sinuous trails of moisture snaking uphill, like the ground had been touched by moving water, but without a source. No rain, no runoff, just a few scattered pebbles that looked like they'd been freshly displaced. Chris crouched to take a closer look at them. He dismissed it, but I could tell he was as perplexed as I was. He got up and chuckled, but I didn't respond. I just kept staring at the streaks. We packed up and continued our hike. I remembered from Chris's planning notes that this stretch of trail traced the edge of an old floodplain back when the river ran wider and higher. Now there was no water, just sun-baked stone and silence. The earth was layered in dry red sediment, cracked and flaking like it had once held something powerful and let it go too slowly. It felt ancient and emptied out, like a memory the land hadn't fully forgotten. The next night, more strange things happened. Chris woke up to find a ring of moisture on his sleeping pad next to his backpack. The stone was still tucked into a side pouch, but the water had somehow seeped through. He brushed it off as odd, muttered something about condensation, and lay back down like it didn't matter. But I could see it in his face. It rattled him more than he wanted to admit. I started having vivid dreams after that. Water rushing beneath my feet. Voices just below the surface, like someone calling to me through a thick pane of glass. Chris said I thrashed in my sleep all night long. The strange thing is, the farther we hiked, the more I started feeling like the stone was trying to get our attention. Not in a threatening way, just deliberate, kind. And then, on our fourth day, we came to a trail junction Chris had marked in his trip notes, meant to shortcut through a slot canyon back toward our return loop. Chris was about to lead us down when I stopped him. Something felt wrong. The air had that same fragile stillness I felt when I first held the stone, like something unseen had paused just long enough to be noticed. The pressure in my chest came back, quiet but firm, like a thread pulling at me. And then I noticed his backpack was soaking wet. I pulled the stone from the side pouch. It was warmer now, almost hot in my hand, like it had been holding something in. The carvings were still on it, but they didn't feel like ripples anymore. For the first time, I felt I understood them, not logically, but instinctively. They weren't decorative. They seemed directional, repeated on purpose, like signs someone had left behind to keep others from going the same way. I didn't say any of that out loud. I just told Chris we should go the longer way around, that I wasn't feeling great. He didn't argue. I think he felt it too. Later that day, as we rejoined a higher trail, we ran into a pair of park rangers, two women hiking together with muddy packs slung over their shoulders. One of them gave us a curious look and asked where we'd come from. We told them we'd planned to take the Slot Canyon shortcut, but changed our minds at the last second. They exchanged a quick glance, and one of them told us there had been a flash flood that morning. It had swept through the canyon we'd been planning to enter, washed out most of the passage. She said it calmly, but there was something in her voice like she knew we'd just avoided a dangerous situation. Chris and I just stood there in silence, realizing how close we'd come. We didn't talk about it much after that. But near the end of the loop, as the river came into view, Chris took out the stone. We quietly passed it between us one last time, then tossed it into the green river, not out of fear, but with gratitude. Like we both understood. Whatever it was, it had done what it needed to do. I don't have an explanation for any of the odd things that happened to us. And honestly, that's exactly how I'd like it to stay. Some stories don't need answers. Just a stone, a river, and a decision that can't be explained. A decision that mattered more than anything. Hannah and Chris didn't find something that wanted to be feared. They found something that wanted to be understood, just long enough to warn them. Whether it was placed there by nature, memory, or something in between, they listened. And that was enough. If you'd like your outdoor paranormal story featured on a future episode, head over to oddnationalpark.com to submit it using the Share Your Story form. And be sure to visit the support page on our website so we can continue our adventure where the natural meets the supernatural. Thanks as always for tuning in. I'm James, and this has been Odd National Park.